So this is the trophy that I got as the winner for Mr. Gay India 2019.
A Better Place focuses on the plight of homosexuality's LGBTQIA people in India, Belize, Seychelles, Sri Lanka, all these places that still have these laws in place as far as hate crimes and as far as homosexuality is concerned, where it criminalizes them. And it really broke down the idea of a lot of colonial laws that need to be adjusted. And a lot of these places, people are scared to even report the hate crimes because the law is not on their side. It did make me wonder, was this gray filter purposeful? Is it meant to represent, that things are not fully clear at this moment? That's, a device that I wondered if that was a purposeful thing. I did love that everyone in this film represented standing up for their rights despite the diversity and making the decision to stand up. Activists are working on the hate crime legislation to protect the people, the human dignity trust lawyers that are seeking to eradicate the laws that criminalize homosexuality in these various countries. And even disability and trans people are criminalized by a lot of these antiquated laws that were carried over from colonial times. And you really do need a champion to fight this in the legal system, because these things have just been in place for so many years, passed down from British colonial times and in that whole conquesting era. It was interesting to see how rape was not considered a crime in several cultures, and definitely not considered a crime when happened within marriage or when happened with an object. And it isn't until some heinous crime takes place that, it brings all this discussion as to, who really is to blame for this. And, is this really a crime or not? And it obviously is a crime if someone is affected by it, but to feel like you are a prisoner within your own marriage just because the laws are not on your side is going to keep you from coming forward and remaining a prisoner in that. And you don't, and it didn't sit right with me, the idea that there are so many people living this way. And, it just made me encouraged to kind of keep up and find out what things are being done as far as eradicating some of these laws.
A Better Place definitely brings forward an important message that I feel a lot of people could try to brush away and say, well, that doesn't happen here. But the sad and harsh truth is that this is something that happens everywhere throughout the world. And even here, where you'd think we would have the privilege of diplomacy and democracy, there's still, especially when it comes to the LGBTQ community, there's still a lot of bias against them, which allows discriminatory crimes, hate crimes towards them to continue to flourish. And it's always an issue of, well, what could have you done to prevent this, rather than addressing the issue of a basic human need for safety being violated. I think this was a very important message to address, and I'm glad A Better Place did.
A Better Place is a film that I thought was very clearly presented and quite consistently moving. It was a very persuasive, very well-told documentary. The stories that are told in here, they all felt very purposeful. They all felt like they were in service of the film's overall message. And the film, I think, is something that is especially impressive, did a really good job of not just explaining what the problems are that these marginalized groups of people are facing, but going a little deeper on it, explaining how those problems continue to affect them, how they're still very much a current issue, as well as what had to happen in the past and what had to continue happening in order for those problems to exist at all. It goes the extra mile in that regard, and I think that it pays off to really kind of sell the viewer on the message and provide a rewarding emotional viewing experience.
This is a really wonderfully made film. I'm glad this was done. You know, it was really nice to see this issue of LGBTQ rights and laws discussed in so many different areas of the world, and in areas that I don't normally get to see a lot of footage. You know, in like places like Belize and the Seychelles, and yeah. So it was really nice to get a glimpse at other cultures that I don't normally get exposed to. It was really, really moving. The one lady who said access to laws, it's important for everybody, and basically if the smallest group can't get access and can't get fair treatment, the entire society suffers, and that's very true. I really agree with that, and I'm glad that this message is getting out there. But this is a wonderfully made film. Everybody on camera did such a wonderful job communicating. It was nicely directed, nicely edited. You know, it was really interesting to learn about this, about laws around the world and how unfair they are, and the folks that are working to change things. So thanks to everybody for their hard work out there, and thanks for making this film. I hope this gets out there, gets seen. It's very important.
I really want to commend you for making a better place. I think it highlights the LGBTQ community in places that aren't usually seen, or they don't usually get the recognition or attention or care that they deserve. And I think you take that concept, and not only do you bring it to life, but you bring up the other issues that come with, you know, underserving a community and society, and how the rest of society suffers. And I think that's a really compelling story because it happens so often to so many different marginalized communities, and you really highlight the LGBTQ plus community and how this occurs for them, and how it causes like a ripple effect for the rest of society. I really want to commend you for bringing these individual stories up with such care and attention, and using it to build this narrative of, you know, striving for a better place, not only for this community, but highlighting how giving them a better place gives the community a better place, and, you know, society at large, and how it just builds. And I think those who are bigoted or don't believe in different welfare programs or stuff to help other people out don't always see that, and I think you do a great job of bringing that to the forefront of your piece. So really compelling, really well put together, really well done.
I will say I didn't know that there was a such thing in countries as being the best person in a country. I learned that from that guy's many awards. Something I never really thought about probably, but I didn't know they existed specifically. These people activating for human rights is something you can't fault, where they're wanting discrimination to end is something that you can't really blame them for. It's sad that the rape laws in these countries are behind the times, where a woman is still considered the property of her husband, or ruined if she gets raped, where she can't have a husband at all. It's something that definitely needs to change. The LGBTQ activists certainly got their change with discrimination, anti-discrimination laws. So they need to work to get the women into their safe spaces where they can talk and get the laws to reflect that they aren't their husband's property or a man's property, or they're not ruined if they get raped. They definitely have more work to do. They achieved a little. They have a lot more to do to come with this time, but it was a very informative documentary that showed another part of the world that those of us who have certain rights and privileges probably don't really think about, that other countries don't. And it's amazing to see that there are people within the country fighting to change it instead of just moving like they could and finding refuge somewhere else, that they're actually fighting in their own country for change, which makes them heroes.
This should be used for a better place where we can see human rights organizations in different Commonwealth countries like Seychelles, India, Belize, Kenya, UK, or Australia. I learned a lot about how hate crimes are described in the law in these different countries, and the efforts these groups are making to update their legislations to reflect a more modern, tolerant society. It was also well researched in terms of the sexual violence, all the data about exploitation and abuse, that sometimes it's either a husband or in the majority of times it is a husband, someone they know, more than a completely unknown person or stranger. It was also impactful for me to learn new concepts such as corrective rape. I'm glad there's progress to eradicate that. Corrective rape? What are you talking about? I mean, I was so outraged. But I'm glad that we have this progress and we have people consciously making efforts to make this world a better place for everyone. We need this transformation and this push to prevent suicide and align ourselves to what the world needs in terms of protection, not only of men, not only of women, but also men, children, both male and female, and it's just inspirational. I am so glad to watch this, and all on top of that, they are showing beautiful music. So this was a very well researched documentary. I totally enjoyed it.